And this is how fast you'll be editing after watching all the tips in today's video.
Wait.
What?
This is the macro video.
Bro, I'm recording.
The macro? Oh.
Alrighty, why the Trump being a free agent is up, boys. So the skit you just watched then is actually not a macro and it was actually me on my controller. So by the time you leave today's video, I'm going to be making sure you can edit just as fast as what it appears to be a macro. So this video, in short, is going to make sure that you have a lower input delay. It's going to double your editing speed, so whatever you have currently, it's going to double that. And overall make your edits way more consistent. I hear you boys saying that some of my videos are being repetitive. So I'm going to give you guys the chance to pick my next video and feature a shout out in the next video. All you got to do is go down to the comments and comment a single tip video you want to see with a bit of a twist on it, and I'll be picking one for the next video, and I'll feature your comment and shout out whoever wins. So this video is going to start out with some very quite simple tips, but then we're going to slowly build on those tips throughout the video and increase eventually to some really high-end tips that are going to double your editing speed, like, trust me. But the thing is, you need to understand these really basic tips to start with before you can actually double your editing speed. So if you just take one tip from today's video and leave and try it out, it won't work, so you're going to have to combine all these tips together to overall edit like a macro. Other than that, like and subscribe in the next 5 seconds or something sus is going to happen tomorrow at school. So like and subscribe right now. I wouldn't risk it. Alrighty boys, other than that, let's hop straight into the video. Alrighty, so we're hopping straight into tip number 1. For tip number 1, it's going to be pretty simple, but a lot of people don't get this concept, so let me explain it to you. So what I want you guys to do is actually go ahead and practice this. What this is when it comes to editing a wall, everybody knows that there's a bit of a delay between the thought process of actually wanting to edit the wall and then obviously selecting it and actually making the wall edit happen and then confirming it to actually give you what you intentionally wanted. We're going to be speeding up this process and actually practicing the distance between this time zone and make it smaller so that your edits become way faster. So what I want you guys to do is start out by practicing hitting the edit button and then hitting the select button. But instead add a twist to this, and I want you guys to be able to actually edit and select before you even get to see the blue tiles on the wall. So now you guys know the difference between good and bad editing. There's basically just seeing the blue tile in between. How we're going to go ahead and practice this is all I want you guys to do is hit your edit button, which is mine is left stick, and then hit the select button immediately after so you don't see the blue wall there. Then once you've got this step down, what I want you guys to do is stay at this edit screen just like so, and I want you to select and then confirm it at the same time so you don't even see the grey tile on your wall. So to wrap up the first tip as a whole, what I want you guys to do is practice the first part of it is to edit a square just like so you don't see the blue tile at all, and then go ahead and select and confirm at the same time so you don't even see the grey tile. Then you guys can combine these two together to get basically an instant wall edit and not even see the blue tiles on the wall. And then this is the first tip where you need to be at before you can actually move on to tip number 2. Now tip number 2 is going to be very basic, but we're going to move over this quickly so we can get on to tip number 3 as it's very important. And all I want you guys to do for number 2 is go ahead and edit the wall and then reset it as fast as possible. So that's why I said you have to learn tip number 1 for today's video to go ahead and edit it fast originally, and then I want you guys to reset it immediately after. You can practice this by simply using the first tip to obviously edit the wall fast, and then all you have to do is go ahead and hit the edit button, reset it, and then confirm it all at the same time to practice the second part. Put these two together and you'll get the fastest edit reset. Right, now I'm sure that's very boring for a lot of you, but now that's great news because we can actually move on to some more of the actual advanced tips and make you faster editor, and I'll give you some macro edit tips. Okay, now let's move into tip number 3. Now this tip's going to sound a little weird to you guys, but just hear me out because I can guarantee you this comes from the pros that I've learned it from. So when it comes to practicing and warming up in the morning and practicing your edits, a lot of pros I actually DM'd actually found out that they all warm up with no headphones. Now instead, I want you guys to practice editing in the morning or whenever you actually practice, but instead use absolutely no audio at all, or just go ahead and blast music as loud as possible so that you do not hear the editing sound. Now what this is actually going to go ahead and do and benefit you is basically when it comes to editing, a lot of people's eardrums and actually how the body works is that when you hear the noise of you selecting a tile, what that's going to do for you is then trigger you to hit the next button to then confirm it or select the next edit, etc. Now the reason why this is actually bad when it comes to editing is because some people actually go ahead and play with really bad ping or really bad input delay. Now the sound will actually work and come through straight away, however input delay will actually put a risk on this because then your eardrums will tell you to go ahead and click the next button to start the next edit. However, your input delay or your lag may actually ruin this and then basically start to ruin some of your edits. So instead, I want you guys to build that mental and visual actual picture of when an edit needs to be performed in your head. Therefore, then you won't rely on the sound to actually be edited. Now, I know all of you guys will tell me in the comments,
oh, but wait, I don't listen to when I have to edit.
Yeah, now a lot of you may not think that, but it's just how your body works. So just trust me, in the mornings when you go ahead and practice your edits, just make sure to go ahead and actually listen with no audio, and then you'll get a better picture in your head of when you need to edit and click your buttons, so that lag and input delay will not have a toll on your editing speed at all. Okay, bet. Now we're going to be moving on to tip number 4. Now tip number 4 is going to be quite simple to number 1, where we actually have to get some knowledge first before we can actually build on it and move on to the next tip. So this is very important, so make sure you listen up and take good notes right now. So these edits are basically edits you can actually cheat on, and you guys need to learn about when coming to editing, because this can double your editing speed. Now when editing a stair, a lot of people go ahead and tend to actually get up to the top of it around this sort of space before they actually go ahead and flip it over. Now this is really bad, because what's going to happen is you're going to be editing and you're going to be looking the complete wrong way you need to be looking for an edit.
But Woods, I can look around and turn around and it'll be fine.
Yeah, well, you might be able to turn around and it'll be fine and everything like that in the first place, but this can throw off your inconsistency. Now, this is very simple, but let me give you the actual tip and actually why you can actually benefit of this. So a lot of people actually think when you need to edit a ramp, you actually need to go ahead and edit the whole thing just like so to actually fully edit the wall. Well, there are actually some cheat edits I'm now going to run you down, basically the ones that you can actually cheat and skip across. With editing a stair, the first one is going to be basically you can actually cheat and go halfway. So rather than coming all the way across to actually flip over the ramp, instead you can actually go halfway and just go diagonally to this edit here, and it'll flip the ramp just as good as if you were to go ahead and drag your screen all the way across and even sometimes miss the edit. Next up, with walls, some people have the wrong conception that you actually need to go ahead and edit all the way around and fully get the edit down. Well, no, the wrong case is that you guys need to actually be getting a mental image that around here on each of the walls, this is where you need to be practicing, because this is the spot where you literally have to travel no distance at all compared to if you were to go ahead and wrap around fully. However, moving back to the stairs and pyramids and whatnot, there's actually a bit of a cheat you guys can do, and it's actually to edit before you actually go onto the ramp. And now the reason is because when you're further away, everything appears way smaller, so you can edit way faster, whereas if you're closer, it's just how science works, and if you're closer, your pivotal point is going to be way bigger for you to turn. And obviously, if you're far away, you can literally just move a tad bit and it'll edit for you, making your double editing speed. Alrighty, but now we're moving on to tip number 5, and this one is very important, so make sure you listen up, as this is a really good tip that I've actually learned from a lot of pros I've DM'd in the community recently. So this is actually whether to know to use your build map or just your pickaxe when editing a wall. Now, a lot of people may find it more comfortable to actually edit with a pickaxe. However, some people actually go ahead and edit just using their map and keeping it out the whole time. Now, you guys need to learn when is the best time for you to edit with the map out or editing with your pickaxe out. As you know, when you go ahead and edit a pyramid and floor just like so, you'll go ahead and edit the floor just fine, but when you go to edit the actual pyramid, you'll still be editing the floor, and then you'll scuff up your edit because you'll edit the floor instead of the pyramid. So this is the first example. When you're editing up or down on pyramids and floors, you always need to be making sure you're using your pickaxe for 100% of the time, making you more consistent and making your edits faster. Whereas if you're doing things like this where you're using pyramids and floors, then I'd highly suggest you just go ahead and keep your edit map out, as you're doing a lot of edits really consistent and you don't have a lot of time to be switching between pyramid and build map. Alright, now moving into tip number 6 of today's video to actually wrap up the video. This last one is going to be very important, so make sure you listen up to this one, as this one actually came in key recently that I've sort of discovered, and it's made my editing so much better, it's ridiculous. So when editing, I thought to be a fast editor that you need to really mash your buttons and make sure that you hit everything fast, like you're trying to edit like a tile just like so. You're really mashing them buttons together to edit faster. Now maybe even not mashing is the right word, but just hitting them really hard to make sure that the edits go through, but you get something like this where your edits don't go through. Basically, I want you guys to start to actually press your buttons way lighter and play more elegant when it actually comes to actually editing. Now in short term, yes, you may find yourself actually slow down originally to start with, but I want you guys to go ahead and press your buttons slower and more elegant and give yourself more time for edits, because when you're hitting your buttons harder, if you click it like so, your finger has to come up with quite a lot of pressure, and then by the time you actually come up quite high, you're already far away from your controller, so then by the time you go ahead and press down again, you've come a long distance. Whereas if you edit elegantly with a little pressure at all, then this is going to mean that your fingers barely come off these buttons, as you don't have to release them with a lot of force because you haven't pressed it very hard. So this means you can actually go ahead and edit the buttons faster, allowing you to actually edit faster overall. So you may look like a bit of an idiot if you're just sitting in creative editing nice and slow, but it can actually start to become quite satisfying, as you'll notice you'll start to hit every single one of your edits perfectly. Alrighty guys, but that's pretty much been it for today's video, so make sure you drop a like if you are still watching, because you've clearly enjoyed it and it's helped you out. And remember to go ahead and comment down the video you want to see next video for a chance to win, and you might even get a shout out next video. And then subscribe of course to see if you get your comment featured and a shout out next video. Other than that guys, I guess I will see you all in my next video. Peace out.